A lot of our happiness, or the lack of, is determined by how we see things, how we understand things, how we interpret things, and what our expectations are of those situations, or how we just want things to be. There are 5 main things that really evoke unhappiness in you if you keep thinking in that way. I myself am guilty of that. I also fall into these thinking mechanisms and start really going down a rabbit hole of just feeling disappointed, like something's missing and I need to fix something. I'm just unhappy. So to help you understand and identify what those 5 things are, we're going to discuss them, and then we're going to look at how we can stop going down these thinking mechanisms that just make us very unhappy. If you haven't been to my page before, welcome. Please subscribe to my channel so that you're up to date with my content. On this page, I look at mental and emotional well-being, as well as personal development and just day-to-day topics. And if you're coming back, then welcome back. So there are 5 thinking patterns that mainly hold you back. And the first one is thinking that the minute life gets a little bit tough, that something is going wrong, or you're doing something wrong. Especially right now where things are out of our control. A lot of things you can't really, it's not down to you, and yet life's kind of going wrong and it's very tough. We promised that life will be easy, and nobody said that it should be plain sailing. And what you see on social media is just a tiny little snippet of people's days. So as much as it might look wonderful, amazing, people are content and happy, great relationships, great lifestyles, that is just a snapshot of 24 hours, a 30 seconds. So understand that what people are showing isn't what it actually is. So life isn't great, and it's like that for majority of the people. And having said that, it doesn't mean that life's just crap all the time. It's just that it'll be up and down, and it will get tough, and it'll be easy, and you have to be prepared for all of it. It's not plain sailing. There's going to be lessons, there's going to be obstacles, there's going to be heartbreak, and that's just part of the journey. So as soon as you adjust that expectation and understand that it's not all plain sailing, and just because life's tough right now that something is wrong or something's wrong with you. It's not. Nothing's wrong with you. You're not doing anything wrong. You're just going through your journey, and right now you're on a rocky road, and that's okay. So you need to be able to give life the space for things to not go right. And so when you prepare yourself for that, you understand that's coming, you kind of expect it every now and then it doesn't hit you as hard, and you're not like depleted when that happens. The next thinking pattern is wanting people to see things their way. So if you're set on people agreeing with you, or just seeing things the way you want them to see, and if you don't get that, you're severely disappointed, you're hurt, you're upset, then that's really no good to nobody. It's important for us to learn and understand that it's not our duty or responsibility to convince people to see things or agree with us or see things the way we do. And sometimes it's pick and choose. You have to pick your battles. Some conversations are very important to be had, and some are just not that important. You shouldn't waste your time and energy trying to convince someone to see things from your perspective if it doesn't really matter in the grand scheme of things. Learn to let go and learn which ones you want to pick at. And when you do pick at these conversations and you want to go deeper with that person, also understand your limit and boundary of how much is too much. Of course, try and make them understand and try and explain your perspective, but if you can see that they are just dedicated to not wanting to see things from your point of view, they're determined to not make this easy for you, then understand that this is where you're losing now, and where your boundary should be, and where you should think, okay, you know what, I did my bit, the rest is your choice, and It's really, I don't have control over that. That's you. So understanding that not everybody will agree with you, not everybody will see things the way you do, and you just have to set your boundary. And once it doesn't go your way or people don't agree with you, accept and understand that and just don't engage in it. There is no need to entertain that and go back and forth just to be right or just for it to be your way. That's just a very toxic, negative thinking pattern. The next habit that people have, and this is mainly for my empaths, is to worry about everything that's going wrong in the world as a collective consciousness. Not just in your home or around the people that you care about, but just in the world. Just being very, very upset and picking out the negatives and finding things to just dwell on and be upset over. Now, having said that, I'm not saying be ignorant and be selfish and not care. But again, boundaries. Understand that, yeah, of course I care about what's going on in the world. I want to do my part. I want to help. I want to make people feel better. But at the same time, if this is draining me, if this is making me bitter, negative, unhappy in my day-to-day, then I need to know where to cross the line and understand that there are, amidst everything that's going wrong in the world, in the trauma areas, everything, there are people there. There are helpers and healers that are doing their part and making things better. So you worrying at home isn't really going to add to it or help people in any way. It's just going to bring you down. So understanding to have a clear boundary that, yeah, of course, these things, especially again right now with what's going on in the world, these are the bad things that are happening out there, and this is the part that I want to play and help out. But from this point onwards, I have to just detach myself and not let it get to me so much, and understand that there are people out there helping and healing and are in the midst of it, on the ground, working. A very common thinking pattern, especially amongst my Brits, we're known for this, is complaining. And I feel like complaining happens more in as a social kind of thing to do because everybody else is doing it. It's one thing having things to complain about, but it's another thing to just constantly being complaining. And so it's like when you're sitting amongst friends and someone starts complaining about the weather or the traffic, then suddenly it brings your attention to it too. So you then add your story, your side, and everybody's now in a whole complaining discussion. And that complaining, and I'm very guilty of that. I'm a complainer myself, unfortunately. And when I do become aware of it, I try and joke about it and change the topic. But we all do this. We complain, and we start looking for the negative in things. And that slowly becomes looking for the negative in people. So that could turn into gossiping, and you just sit there and you pick out flaws and things of people and you discuss it and you talk about it. But what you're doing is like festering this toxic negative energy around you. And like I said, with the complaining and gossiping, it's like a social thing. So even if your attention may not be on someone's flaw or something that someone's doing wrong, if one of your friends starts pointing something out about someone, then that brings your attention to it and you start noticing. And so you then talk about it, you add your own. It's just not a good feeling. It's just not something that you want to spend your time and energy on. It's not healthy. It's not helping anyone. And I'm a big believer in karma and just having good intentions. So if you're sitting there complaining about people and complaining about things, you are putting that energy out there, and that's what you will attract back. So it's just being conscious of not turning into this like negative, gossipy, complaining, bitter person, because that's a habit that, like I said, a lot of us have. And it's okay to just have a little laugh and a giggle about the weather and complain a little bit about the traffic here and there. But then if that's just your general temperament, that's what you fall back on, and you generally start conversations and you engage in conversations that are more about complaining, then make sure that you're aware of that and you snap yourself out of that thinking pattern. Which brings me to my final point, that when you're so judgmental of other people and you look for flaws in other people and criticize the way they do things or the way they look or the way they carry themselves, then in time that turns into complaining about yourself, looking at your own flaws, being judgmental towards yourself, being very hard on yourself. If things go wrong, self-punishing, thinking that it's all your fault, and taking things personally, which of course plays with your self-worth, plays with how you see yourself, how you value yourself, how you carry yourself, and that's not where you want to be. We start not trusting ourselves, we start neglecting ourselves, we start pushing ourselves to rejecting ourselves. So then when we get into relationships or meet people and are treated a certain way, then we're surprised, disappointed, and upset as to why we're getting treated like that, or why isn't this person fixing us and making us happy. But how are they supposed to do that when we have all these thinking patterns and self-limiting beliefs about ourselves and about other people? This all comes from our thinking patterns and our thinking mechanism. And it's not someone else's job to come along and make you happy or make you realize these things or treat you in a way that you deserve to be treated, with respect, with kindness, with compassion, without judgment. If you're doing that to yourself, how could you expect other people to do otherwise? You always teach people how to treat you. That comes from you. And so if you're teaching them to not love you, then they're not going to. So if you're wondering why you're not feeling good about yourself, you've got to look back at all the self-doubt, self-judgment, self-criticism that you've put yourself through. And so you're not feeling good. You're not looking at all the wins, all the positives that you're doing, all the little obstacles that you're overcoming. You're not giving yourself that space to celebrate, to acknowledge, to accept yourself for the good and bad. And so you're generally feeling like you're not good enough. This is not enough. That's why you look at life as it's unfair. You know, you're looking at this is not big enough, this is not grand enough, this is not successful enough, this is not rich enough, this is not beautiful enough. And so you are feeling and living in this not enough mode. So you really need to start being proud of yourself, even if it's the tiniest little thing. Like if you parallel parked your car great today, be proud of yourself. Be happy about that. Look at all the good as well as the bad, and understand that you come as a whole. There are good, there are bad. The same with life. There'll be good days, there'll be bad days. And that's all okay. It's just all part of this journey. And you've just got to stop being so hard on yourself. I hope that you guys enjoyed this video and it's just made you aware of certain things that you may be doing that in the grand scheme of things and the bigger picture just promotes this feeling of uneasiness and unhappiness and of this I'm not good enough. So this video isn't to tell you guys to be happy 24/7, wake up and just be cheerful all the time. That's not normal. That's not human. You guys know that all my videos kind of cover the good, the bad, the ugly, and we just discuss every aspect of things. And, you know, we look at a person as a whole. So I understand that you can't always be happy, and it's not normal to always just be very positive and cheerful and optimistic. But if you're constantly keeping yourself in the negative, that's also not okay. And that's also not healthy. So you need to be made aware of that and try and break out of these thinking mechanisms and thinking patterns so that you're really living your authentic, wholesome self. Thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe to my channel and like and comment on this video, and I'll see you guys again here soon. Mwah.